This video is dedicated to making Super Hexagon on Scratch. It's really fun, really simple to make, so let's just get started and make some games. So first what we're going to do is we're going to create a message saying start/restart. So this is going to be the starting for all of the sprites in this project. So the player, as you can see in the costume, this is the center of the costume and it's offset. So basically what that's going to do is it's going to rotate and it's going to rotate around the center of the stage. And that's really important because it saves a lot of finicking around with sines and cosines and all that trigonometry stuff. So this is just a really quick and easy way to do it. So whenever C start forever, and it will point in the direction of the mouse pointer. So let's just test that out, and we can see that it's working just fine, and it's pointing in the direction of the mouse pointer. So then after that, we're going to go into the hexagons. So because we already have the broadcast set up, we can just go right into here, and we're going to 5, and it will forever wait 1 second, and we'll do wait 1 second to wait until the game actually starts. So forever, wait 1 second, and create clone of myself. So every second it will create a clone of itself. And then after that, we're going to when I start as clone. So this is the code that does whatever the clone does. When I start as clone, show. And it will forever change size. If I can find it, 1 sec. Yeah, so it'll set size to 100%. No, to, let's say 500. It'll set the size to 500. And then it will slowly zoom in, so change size by -5. And this is the rate that it'll zoom in by. And then once it gets too small, then we want it to delete. So if size, and we'll just see what the smallest size it can be. So we'll just do 0, and then we'll do the smallest size, and it's 5. So if size is equal to 5, it will delete this clone because it is too small to basically even see, and we want it to delete. There it is now. Really, really, really small. That's as small as it can get. So we'll just hide that again. Let's just test that out. And as you can see, there are hexagons that are spawning in, and we might want to adjust the rate a little bit. And you can see that it won't die yet because we just haven't added that yet. Yeah, so now it's a little bit longer before it spawns. And yeah, they just spawn in, and yeah, that's it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do dying mechanism. And the dying mechanism is really, really simple. All we have to do is, let's go forever if touching the hexagon. So if it's touching the hexagon, then what it'll do is it will broadcast start/restart. And yeah, it'll broadcast start/restart. So just a really quick test to see if this works. Yeah, so basically it's restarting, but we don't have any visual feedback on them because it's not destroying all the clones. The clones are still there afterwards. So whenever C starts, let's restart. Delete this clone. So when we restart this, you can see that all the clones delete and we can play again. But it's not that challenging right now because you can just stay in one direction and you can avoid all hexagons by doing practically nothing. So we want when the hexagon to spawn in, be set to a random direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to do point and direction. Pick random, 0 to 360. So you can see now that when a hexagon spawns in, it will randomly point in a random direction. It'll point in a random direction, and it will shut down, delete itself, and if you touch it, then you'll be reset. So that's good and all, but there's no point to the game. Like, there is a point, but it's not defined. In any game, you want to have visual feedback on how good you're doing. And what we're going to do that is we're going to do that by scores. So we're going to go into this and delete the library and create a variable called score. So the score is going to be set into large readout mode. So this is just a really quick UI tip. For scores, you always want to have regular text, and then you just want to have a large readout, because that just makes the game a whole lot better. So when it deletes the clone, we want to change score by 1. And when it receives search after start, set score to 0, because the score is different. So now when we see that if we get through there, that every time a clone deletes itself, we gain a point, or the score goes up, or whatever you want to say. So now we have a game. Now we have a game that you can play. There's a set point to the game. So, but then, as you saw just then, was when I died, it's hard to see the score. So we're going to create 2 more variables. We're going to create our last score. And we're going to create our high score. So now, when we play the game, we want to see when it restarts. So when the player dies, we want to check if. We'll do this before that. So check if score is more than high score. Then we set high score to score, and also we set last score to score. So what that'll do is it'll check if the score is more than the high score, set a new high score, and it'll set the last score to the score. And yeah, that's it. So this should work. So we can see that our first variable over there is the score, our second one is the last score, and then the next one is the high score. So then we do that, and it's 0, 3, and 3. So our last score is 3, our high score is 3 as well. Our current score. So now our last score is 2, our high score is 3, and our current score is 0, 1, and now 2. So we'll keep on doing that, and it'll just keep on monitoring your progress, and you can check it. You can check your last score and your high score after you die. So that's good. That's good progress. So now what we want to do is we want to create a new sprite. So in Super Hexagon, the background is a set color and it's constantly changing. So what we want to do is when green flag clicked, go to back layer. So that's in the back layer. And now you can see when you play, the background is just plain old red. So, but in Super Hexagon, the color is constantly changing. So what we can do is forever change color effect by 1, whatever you want to do. You can see now that the color is constantly changing. It's constantly going around the rainbow, and it's pretty random. Now, another thing that we could do is every time that a new hexagon spawns in, we can have it kind of have like a little flash of a different color. So what we can do then is we want that every single time, like randomized intervals, and the color suddenly flashes to a different color. So we do forever, and another start/restart. Wait, pick random. Let's say 1 to 3 seconds. Then it will set the color to pick random, another pick random, 1 to 100. And this will give us a nice kind of flashy effect. And you can see that it's kind of disorienting, and this is the whole point of Super Hexagon. It's to play on the player's mind. You want to kind of confuse them and make it kind of confusing. And how we can make this game better is we can probably, I'm just going to do this, it's kind of hard to see with all that stuff activated. What we can do is it's not fun enough. So we're going to change the parameters of this so that it goes so that it's harder to play. So you can see now that it's much harder to play the game. And you can see that it's still kind of disorienting. So when you play the game, the hexagons are zooming in, they're coming out from random directions, and maybe let's change the spawning rates as well. So let's say it'll wait 0.4 seconds. And you can see that's much too difficult, so let's do 0.8, let's just double that. So now you can see the game is much more difficult, and you have to actually try to play it, and not just, because the game is like, some games are supposed to be calming, but Super Hexagon is not supposed to be calming, and it's supposed to be kind of stressful. So it'll just continuously do like this, and we don't need to change the speed of the spawning or the rate of the size contraction, because it's already really hard, and the stress just mounts and mounts and mounts, and then it just gets harder and harder and harder to play. And because of this, the score also ramps up quicker, and it's more, I suppose it's more rewarding for the longer that you survive, because I already got 18 points, like as you can see. So now my high score is 20. So now what we can do is, on this sprite, on the background sprite, and we can just really quickly name this background. We can add some UI, and I mentioned UI before, and basically what UI is the stuff in front of the screen that's not part of the gameplay. It's just to read out values and things like that. So we're going to do score, and you can see that there's score there. So we'll kind of drag it into the area that it needs to be in. And we'll just use the arrow keys to kind of get it into place. And then we'll go into text mode, we'll go to again, we'll just add the colon right there. So we'll copy that and bring it over to the next area. And this is going to be last score. And colon. So as you can see now, we have to kind of move this over for it to be aligned. So we'll just move it over to here. So now we're going to take this over, do high score, colon, and we're going to position this as well. And the variable. So now, as you can see, we have a Super Hexagon game. You can play it. You can do anything you want. If you want the sprites, you can head over to my channel. You can head over to my Scratch account, it's Code Storm, and get them.